Barry, and welcome along to another edition of Heroes and Icons on LiR Media. And we have an email if you want to make any comments on anything that comes up in the show. It's info@lirmedia.tv. And this is series 2 of our Heroes and Icons. And this is episode 3 of Heroes and Icons. And really, anybody that's looking at this will know instantly and recognize that wonderful face behind us here. Of course, the subject for today's episode, Eugene Cornyn Kelly, to give him his full name. He was an American actor, dancer, singer, filmmaker, choreographer, an all-around fantastic good guy, really, you know. Of course, he was born in August the 23rd, 1912, Gene Kelly, as he was remembered for all the films and all the things. He was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as said, in 1912, which was, I suppose, a challenging time socially for people in many countries. You had the run up to the First World War. That's how long ago it was, you know. His father was James Patrick Joseph Kelly. He was a phonograph salesman. Now, I know a lot of you will be too young to remember what phonograph was, but anyway, the forerunner of the LP's record player and all of that. And his mother was Harriet Catherine Kern. And I suppose he came to dancing. Well, his mother was, himself and his brother were enrolled by his mother when Gene was 8 years old in the local dancing school. And obviously at the time, when boys were boys and girls were girls, Gene Kelly himself gave up the dancing shortly after that because of all the, I suppose he couldn't withstand the stagging, and I suppose the remarks were passing and all of that. There's a lot of cruelty. We call it bullying now today, and it still is bullying, but at that time, you know, it's banter and, you know, just get on with life, and I suppose be as tough as you can be. So as a result of that, he gave up the dancing, as I said, due to terrible taunting from the lads in the neighborhood. And really, he became an accomplished sportsman, all-round sportsman, baseball, football, you name it. He was excellent and excelled in it. And that, of course, taught him a lot about resilience, about how to defend himself, and he learned that very quickly, and it built him up physically as well, and I suppose character-wise indeed, as all sports do. There's no doubt about that, you know. It's great for character building, comradeship, friendships, and all of that, which is fantastic, and it's healthy as well by and large, these games. Then he didn't really get back to serious dancing until he was 15, which I suppose was you know, old enough really, you know, but he was physically very, very fit, fantastically fit. And then he decided the parents, he went off to college and to study law. But whilst he was attending law school, his parents opened the Gene Kelly Studio Dance in 1932, when Gene would have been around 19 or 20 then, of course. And it became very, very successful in the Pittsburgh area. And Gene Kelly himself taught dance in Pittsburgh for the next 7 years. So, I mean, he kept himself busy whilst going to college as well. But then he dropped out of law school in 1937. And which would be, these things take on a life of their own, you know, because your parents, for every son and daughter, they have aspirations and they want them to succeed and they want them to study and all of that. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But Gene Kelly himself decided that it wasn't for him. And in 1937, he moved to New York to further his career. And obviously, he was well known around the area as a choreographer and a very original thinker when it came to choreography and dance, incorporating an awful lot of, I suppose, movements from across the disciplines, including ballet as well. So, I mean, if you look at some of his films, which were absolutely fabulous, some of them were excellent. you can see that. You can see those influences very much so in his dancing. Anyway, he went off and he was successful teaching and did choreography for some musicals on stage in New York, but he was earning a decent income and all, but I suppose he got a bit disenchanted, he says that himself, anyway, with the teaching, because he said the first thing he noticed with the classes were the girls outnumbered the boys about 10-1 roughly in dance, and he was trying to, you know, get more physicality into dance, so to speak, more male dancers as well, which he felt was important, you know, and there's not about that for productions and all of that. And he said the thing that disenchanted him in the end, it was no fault of the girls either, is that when they reached around the age of 15 or 16, there was an 80 to 90% dropout from the girls' side. So, you know, this, and together with a few other things, he decided to, you know, go back and try and make it in film, if you know what I mean. And so he went back to Pittsburgh, and he was noticed as well. And in 1940, I mean, he did get his big break in Pal Joey. Now, Pal Joey, he shared the screen with Frank Sinatra. And Frank Sinatra was, well, I mean, Frank Sinatra was young enough. I think he was about 25 himself in 1940. But he got his break in Pal Joey in 1940. And then after that film that he did with Frank Sinatra, it was pretty successful, and it's very successful, that film itself, and I've seen it a number of times. I like it, but that's just me, it's my own opinion. You can take a glance at it yourself if you feel that way inclined. And after that, David O. Selznick signed him to a contract. And in 1942, he made a film with Judy Garland, Me and My Gal, which was Me and My Gal, or Me and My Girl, with Me and My Gal, which was very successful as well, and very popular. I suppose you could say, when you're looking back at the history of film and musicals, particularly musicals, you could say that Fred Astaire in the 1930s launched the spectacular dance sequence and all of that, but Gene Kelly himself, almost single-handedly, in my opinion, perfected the art form of dance, and even to describe it as dance, it was an art form that he brought to the whole area of dance in those musicals, and just actually the apex, the height of the extravaganza and those lavish musicals in the 1940s and the 1950s, right into the early 60s. So really, I suppose you can be lucky, and not only was he lucky, he worked very, very hard, and Gene Kelly himself, and obviously he was so talented, there's no doubt about that. Anyway, so in 1942, as I said, he made Me and My Gal with Judy Garland, and Judy Garland, of course, was in film a long time for a very, very young age, child actor, and she had appeared in 1939. She had previously in The Wizard of Oz, so her star was rising, and indeed at its height as well. So really those two names in the 1942 did, and of course appearing with Judy Garland gave him more credibility as well in the wider audience, so to speak, who were expected to go out and pay to watch these. Now, he did Cover Girl in 1944 with the wonderful Rita Hayworth, and of course it was very well received, Cover Girl. It wouldn't be a spectacular film, but nevertheless it did extremely well. It paid its way, as I say. But then in 1945, there was a musical that came along. To my mind, Gene Kelly, my own opinion, these are all my own opinions here on this show, Anchors Away in 1945, co-starring again with Frank Sinatra. And I suppose that film, you can see there in the collage we made up for the backdrop, that film over, as you're looking at the screen over in the left-hand corner with the mouse, that famous dance sequence is from that film, Anchors Away, with Gene Kelly and Frank Sinatra. And as a result of that film, Gene Kelly was nominated for an Oscar for his part in that film. He didn't win it, but I mean, at least indeed by being nominated alone that time, further your career and your credibility and your acceptance into the wider industry, I suppose, as well. There's a lot of things that go along with that, you know. But anyway, so then as a result of that, he moved into, so he was with MGM from 1946 to 1952. And during, I suppose, during his time with MGM, some of his earliest films were successful in MGM indeed. I'm not going to read out all the films he did because there were way too many. But as a result of at MGM and his star rising and his stock rising and his credibility and all that, he was allowed and indeed encouraged and allowed to do his own, to choreograph all the dance sequences in the particular musical he was in. So he had some artistic license, some artistic, I suppose, artistic license himself, you know, that he was given complete charge of that aspect of the musical that he'd be appearing in. So that was very important, I suppose, a very important development, really, you know. And then in 1949, he did his final film with, not his final film, but his final film with Frank Sinatra again, On the Town, which was very, very successful. I don't know if anybody, you may have remembered that. On the Town with Frank Sinatra and Gene Kelly and a host of others. And it was really, really, I suppose, a very successful film, as I said. And again, it's another one for the archives, another one for you to digest, another one for you to look up and go back into your back catalogue. On the Town, 1949, and it's as fresh as ever. You take my word for it. And if you don't like it, well, you know, you can email. This is LiR Media, Heroes and Icons. On Series 2, Episode 3, myself, Papa, we have an email. It's info@lirmedia.tv for any comments or any suggestions for any heroes and icons that you might like to hear about that maybe have been forgotten about or not spoken about as frequently as one would like today. So then we're coming along now to, I suppose, the high point. Well, he had many high points that we mentioned all along, but to my own opinion, and these are all my own personal opinions of the man, Gene Kelly, subject for the program today. In 1951, he made, to my mind, one of my favorite musicals, An American in Paris. And that, of course, really, you don't have to take my word for it. That's my favorite, one of my favorites, Gene Kelly. I would really go to see that if just advertised anywhere, even today. 1951, An American in Paris, which won 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. I mean, really, when you think about the I mean, those musicals were just, the budgets for the musicals were enormous at the time. The production, presentation were just second to none, and every detail was paid attention to. And Gene Kelly was just superb, superlative in An American in Paris. And I suppose one of the most famous dance sequences in any musical, in my opinion, is the 17-minute long dream sequence with himself and a young actress who was and dancer who was making her debut in that film in 1951 at 19 years of age, wonderful Leslie Caron. And some of you know would remember her. She was just fabulous, and 17 minutes long for something like that was just fantastic. And that sequence stood out for me among many others, of course, you know. And that very year as well, in 1951, Gene Kelly got an honorary Oscar for his contribution to dance and choreography. So he got a special Oscar for that from the Academy, which recognized the genius. And for anyone who was going to films in the 40s and 50s, 60s, well, it was plain for anybody to see the genius of the man, the incredible talent, a really, really incredibly dedicated actor and dancer, and really was a continuous trying to hone and perfect his act, his dancing, his craft, you know. Then, of course, in 1952, he made another musical, which an awful lot of people would consider would have been their favorite musicals. I mean, it's always a toss-up in my mind between An American in Paris, which I just mentioned, and in 1952 came Singing in the Rain with the wonderful Donald O'Connor and Sid Charisse. Now, that to me was just another superlative musical. There's no doubt about it, you know. Now, at that time, we had the beginning of the television as well, you know, which nobody knew at the time what kind of an effect it would have on the entertainment business in general. But nevertheless, these musicals that I told you about, that Gene Kelly was involved in, all the others as well. I mean, there was a whole host of fantastic dances, too numerous to mention, both male and female. And in 1952, Singing in the Rain, of course, really, look, what can anyone say about it? The sequence, you can see him there with his umbrella in the backdrop, and really, that anytime you hear the first few bars of that, the title song of the title track of the film, well, really, everybody can hum along with it. Of course, Donald O'Connor was just another fantastic dancer. So Kelly was had to be anybody dancing with Donald O'Connor would really want to be top of their game. Of course, Gene Kelly himself was just fantastic, you know, just fantastic. Anyway, that was 1952. I suppose you could say then, from the late 1950s, the musicals began to decline. I don't mean decline as a spectacle, but budgets for musicals began to shrink with the advent of television, and so that consequently toned down the production value, not the production value, but as I said, once the budgets weren't as big, the musicals weren't as good. Not there was anything wrong with the actors or acting in it, but really the decline of the musicals. They had their time in the 40s and 50s and very early 60s. That was the musical with Gene Kelly. Now, obviously, I mean, with Gene Kelly himself, he was not just a choreographer and a teacher, and well, a fantastic teacher as well. There's no doubt about that, you know. And he had successful schools, as I said, choreography and all of that. But Gene Kelly himself was a very, very fit man and always kept himself very fit, as I said. But he had his own ideas as well, you know. He was single-minded, and I suppose he had to be, you know. He had to be, you know. And as I said, the Singing in the Rain is what we're talking about in 1952. I mean, I suppose he imitated a solo dance routine to the title song, and along with the Moses Supposes routine with Donald O'Connor and the Broadway Melody finale with Sid Charisse in that particular musical, the film now did not initially generate the same enthusiasm, as I said, as An American Paris, but it has subsequently overtaken the earlier film to occupy its current preeminent place in the esteem of those wonderful creatures called the critics. And he had his own single-minded opinions about dance. And he said, I suppose Kelly's, it has been said or quoted about him that Gene Kelly's athleticism gave his moves a distinctive, broad, muscular quality. But this was a deliberate choice on his part. As he explained, I quote him, "There's a strong link between sports and dancing." Now, as we mentioned in his earlier career, he excelled in all sports, and in sports he put his mind to, whether it was baseball, basketball, or football. He was fantastic in it. And my own dancing, he says, springs from my early days as an athlete. And he said, I think dancing is a man's game, and if he does it well, he does it better than a woman. Now, Leslie Caron said that while dancing with Astaire, she felt like she was floating. But Kelly danced close to the ground. He railed against what he saw as widespread effeminacy in male dancing, which in his opinion tragically stigmatized the genre, alienating boys from entering the field. And dancing, he said, does attract effeminate young men. He said that. Just a quotation from Gene Kelly. I don't object to that as long as they don't dance effeminately. Now, I just say that if a man dances effeminately, he dances badly. Just as if a woman comes out and says and starts to sing bass. Unfortunately, people confuse gracefulness with softness. John Wayne is a graceful man, and so are some of the great ball players, he said. But of course, they didn't run the risk of being called sissies. I think a lot of that will be happening back to his own childhood, happening right back when he gave up dancing because of the awful slagging he got, in his neighborhood. Now, he said, in his view, and I quote Gene Kelly again, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with it, I'm just putting it out there for people to think about it. One of our problems is that so much dancing is taught by women. You can spot many male dancers who have this tuition by their arm movements, he said. They are soft, limp, and feminine. He acknowledged that in spite of his own efforts in TV programs such as Dancing a Man's Game, for example, the situation changed little over the years. And there you are. That's why he gave up dancing, I think, He said he also sought to break away from the class-conscious conventions of the 1930s and early 40s when top hat and tails or tuxedos were the norm by dancing in casual and everyday work clothes so as to make dancing more relevant to the cinema-going public. Well, that's a fair point, because his first wife was actress and dancer Betsy Blair. Betsy Blair said, a sailor suit or his white socks and loafers or the t-shirts on his muscular torso gave everyone the feeling that he was a regular guy, and perhaps they too could express love and joy by dancing in the street or stomping through puddles. He democratized the dance in movies. And this is a fair quote now from herself, his wife, Blair, Brenda Blair, indeed. Now, Gene Kelly, as I said, did an awful lot of TV, did a bit of TV work in the 70s and the 80s as well. But then he was married, Gene Kelly was married 3 times. And as I said, Betsy Blair, he was married to Betsy Blair from 1941 to 1957. And he had a son called Kerry, who was born in 1942. Some people like that kind of detail. His second wife was Jeanne Klein. Ginny Coyne, who he married in 1960 till 1973, and they had 2 children, Timothy and Bridget. And then he finally got married in 1990 to Patricia Ward. Jean was 77 at the time, and he got married to her, and she was 30 years of age. So, but of course, he was awarded Irish citizenship under a scheme that time as well. So he had an Irish passport holder as well. That's Gene Kelly. So there you go. Now, in 1994, Gene Kelly suffered a stroke, which left him debilitated a bit, but he still got out and about, But then in 1995, he got another stroke, which really left him semi-paralyzed and mainly confined to his home, but he continued to entertain and have an awful lot of people around. So that's Gene Kelly himself, And so finally, on February the 2nd, 1996, at his home in Beverly Hills, Gene Kelly passed away just short of his 84th birthday. That was Gene Kelly, and he's 84, just short of his 84th birthday by a month or 2. And of course, to me, there hasn't been a dancer, in my opinion, to touch him. There's been, Fred Astaire, and there's been dancers maybe sometimes as good as him, Donald O'Connor, but to me, Gene Kelly would be top of the heap for his innovation, for his complete approach to dance, and his complete approach to choreography, incorporating many movements of ballet and other modern dance into the sequences. And you can see that in American Paris and Singing in the Rain, of course, and My Pal Joey and all of those. His body was cremated without a funeral or service. And you can look up and read more. All we hope to do in this edition is to give you a little pen picture of the wonderful Gene Kelly. Untouchable in my view, top of the pile, considered the 15th. When they do these polls, the top 100 most influential film stars in the history of Hollywood. Gene Kelly comes in at number 15, which is no mean feat when you consider the history of actors and actors that have gone through Hollywood. He comes in at number 15 in the all-time top 100. So that's a testament to the man himself and to the dedication of his art. So this has been Heroes and Icons, Series 2, Episode 3 with myself, Pat Barry. Tell all your friends about us. You can get all the programs up on our YouTube channel, LiR Media TV, and an email, info@lirmedia.tv. If you want to have any suggestions for a hero or an icon you'd like to hear or see about, please drop us a line and we'll do the best we can. So from this edition of Heroes and Icons, until we meet again, take care and God bless.
Episode of Bringing Back the Smile here with myself, Dave Sheehan, on LiR Media, and I'm a high performance consultant and dedicated now for over 25 years to educating, motivating. I truly do hope inspiring people just like you to be the best you that you can be and to live the best life that you can have. And Bringing Back the Smile is all about bringing back the smile to you, bringing happiness to you, and how you can do it. Because the good thing is, it's in your hands. You're in control of the level of happiness that you're going to experience in your life. You're in control, whether you realize it or not, of what your past has been like, what your present currently is like, and what your future is going to be like. And this is the exciting thing about being a human, that you have control over that. Now, a lot of people don't want to face up to that. A lot of people don't realize that. But the reality is you have control over where your life is going to, where your life is right now, where your life has been before. And that includes things like, bad experiences as well as good experiences. You might be thinking, how the hell can I be in control of bad experiences that happen? Like, this person did that and this happened in the world and so on. Well, the thing is, you're still in control, because even there's things that you can't control, you're still in control of your reaction. Now, that's the most important thing to realize. You're always in control of your reaction. So whether it's a reaction to something you control, or whether it's something that's a reaction to something you can't control. So throughout your life, every single day, every minute, every second, basically, you're doing something that's creating your reality. Okay, whether it be, again, how you're behaving, reacting, and acting around stuff you control, just as much as stuff that's out of your control, and how can you react to that. Does that make sense? Something's really important, because people give away the ownership of their life to other people, to other powers, to the government, and so on. People love playing the blame game. People love making excuses. When the reality, again, is we need to all take personal responsibility for all aspects of our life. All aspects of our life. It's like even the extremest of conditions. Viktor Frankl is somebody you should definitely check out. He's a Holocaust survivor, and he's the author of Man's Search for Meaning. And he was in, I don't know, was it Auschwitz or which one, but one of the concentration camps. And he still managed to maintain hope that he was going to have a good life, a normal life, lead a normal life. That's what was important for his mindset, to survive, basically. So he was in control of his reality. He wasn't living in a reality that was consumed by intense fear, like 99% or more of the other people who are in the concentration camps. Justifiably so, in terms of they're looking at their actual reality, where they were, what they were in the midst of, what was imminent for them in terms of death and so on. So when they focus on that as their reality, it became the reality, let's say. For himself, he changed his outlook, and he changed on what he was there for, why he was there, what was going to happen. So his own reality was that little bit different. So we have the power to create a reality. Now, he survived doesn't mean that just that's guaranteed to survive, but it made it a lot easier for him to survive. And you give off to again the right energy and stuff like that. That makes sense to you. So, in the midst of the worst situations, we are still in control of how we react, and how we react and will have a huge impact on what our reality will be. Is that making sense to you? I hope it does, because it's an important point for you to grasp, because too often people just latch to excuses, latch to blame, latch to someone else's responsibility, when it's all your responsibility. Everything is your responsibility. And the sooner you embrace that and really run with that, the quicker your life will change. And that applies to every single aspect of your life. So, bringing back the smile is all about, bringing back the smile to you, making you feel a bit better. How do we feel better? Well, being happy within ourselves, having self-love is such a huge part of that. Also having a life experience that we desire to have and living through that. And, the reality is things don't just come easy. You're not going to just have the life you want, experience everything you want, be who you want, just like that, just because you want it, and just because you put it out there. You do have to put the work in. So it's important for you to realize that, again, take responsibility and go out there and put the work in. Because far too many people just kind of sit there and just wait for things to happen and expect things to change. Happiness is there for you. But this is the great thing about it. Happiness is there for you. It just depends on what you do to get it. It just depends if you do enough to get it and how much you want it. Like everyone wants to feel better, look better, have more, experience certain things, visit certain places, all that kind of stuff. So many people want to do that, but do they want enough? And it's the question I have for you. Do you want enough? Do you want to be your best enough? Do you want to look your best enough? Do you want to experience life fully enough? Do you want to turn your dreams into reality enough? That's the important word there. Because again, it's all there for you. It just depends if you want it enough and if you're going to take the action towards it. So there's so many different aspects of this. And, we speak so much on bringing back the smile of different things like, your mindset, motivation, your psychology, which is so important, your whole thought process. We speak at different times, even things like exercise, nutrition, sleep, which is such a key role to play in your general happiness. And we're going to be focused on nutrition today. We're going to be clearing up a lot of myths and, explain to you what are the right things to do, what you could be able to change in your lifestyle that will have a positive impact. Also, we speak and bring back the smile a lot about, management of your life. So lifestyle management, self-management, time management, and goal setting, and, creating the life of your dreams, because you can have it. This is the great thing about life. I have the potential to live the life I want. You have the potential to live the life you want. But again, it will only have any chance of happening if we take personal ownership, take personal responsibility for the life that we're living. We take ownership for every aspect of it, whether it be good or bad, and look at our role in it. Again, the worst of situations, you will have played a role in getting to that point, and this is something you have to get good at recognizing. And knowing your role, learn from your role, learn from the situation, move on even stronger into the future to deal with for future challenges even better. Does that make sense? But I'm going to say it again. Focus on making sure that you take personal responsibility for all good and bad, because again, it's your reaction to either that will determine what your reality is that you live through. Okay? Because life can be tough. Sure as hell can be tough. It can be really, really tough. But your reaction is what's in your hands. Okay? So react positively always, or as often as possible at least, because you are human. You're going to have times that will get you. That's natural. But more often than not, make sure you react in a very positive way. So like I said, on this particular episode of Bringing Back the Smile, I'm going to focus on nutrition. Why would I do that? Well, nutrition is an area that is so important. And in terms of bringing back the smile, what's smiling and feeling good? What is it a lot to do with? What impacts it? Of course, again, your life and what you're doing. Success is a big impact, but what on a chemical basis impacts the way your brain works and how your body feels? What impacts in that way? Well, it's your food, and I include liquid in that too. So what you consume, what you put into your mouth has a huge impact on how your body works. Let's throw medication into too. So we'll speak a bit about medication and food and liquids. So whatever you consume, whatever you put into your mouth will have an impact on the way your brain works. Your brain and how it works determines your mood, your energy, your thought process, how you deal with negative thoughts, just much how you deal with positive thoughts. So, all these things are so important. That's why you have to be so mindful of what you consume, what you put into your mouth, because it's not just about feeding your body as a necessity. It's feeding your brain, and it's giving the energy to your brain. And what you consume has a big impact on how your brain works, and also has an enormous impact on your mood. So there's a lot of people who are not in good mood, feel very down, feel very low, don't have energy, just not in a good place in terms of their mood and energy and stuff like that. You change the food and the liquid consumption, things change dramatically more often than not. Again, it all depends on why is it like that. Like if there's no deep-rooted trauma, something that's really, tough that they're going through at the time, and it's just feeling a bit down and low and stuff, a lot of time, again, just make some adjustments in your food. No different in conditions like ADHD and all these kind of things, hyperactive disorders and so on. and they to do anything that's kind of connected to the brain and how the body works and so on. Often, if you look at the situation, especially with kids and look what they're consuming, it's terrible stuff. You know, sugary cereals, Coke, loads of sweets, loads of jellies. You know, food that has no substance, but food that's like a drug to the body and makes it just go crazy, make it crave more, make it just go hyper, and then get downers and hyper and downers and so on. And when you're in that vicious circle, you can't function correctly. You know, you can't. You just, your brain can't work right, your body won't work right. You know, you won't be stable. And this is why I put so much importance to people on their food. Like, food is such an impact on absolutely everything. We only see it as something to feed ourselves, or maybe a bit of importance if people are into training or are athletes of some kind. It's not just that, just your general day-to-day, your food has a huge impact on, as I said, how your brain works, your energy, your concentration, your focus, and also your mood. Very important, your mood. So when you change the food, then your mood will change. Will that solve the issues? Potentially not. It depends, as I said, if there's big issues there. But you know, the first point to call, even people who are in a very, very bad way, and even down to, you know, very depressed and so on, do what you can control. You can control the food. Make positive changes in the food, and it's a good chance you'll at least feel a little bit better, and might give you that little bit of spark that helps you then to deal with the issues or traumas that are putting you in that dark place. But the main, you know, it may or may not, as I said, you know, it's a tough area to get out of when you get into dark place. And I know myself because I've been there. So it's a tough area to get out of, but you have to always focus on what you can control. Focus on the things that you can control and make, you know, make steps in the right direction. So let's go through various things to do with nutrition. Let's start with the liquid, okay? People are always amazed when I talk about nutrition, I speak about liquid first, always. Well, I speak about it first because it's the most important. Because you realize your body's 75% water. 75%. Your brain is actually 83% water. And to add to it, your brain can't retain water. So if you're not adequately hydrated, your brain cannot function correctly. And that's only one factor, not to mind all the other factors, like 20% of calories you consume go to your brain, and various other factors that affect how your brain works. So if you go back to just the water, 83%. Now, the vast majority of the world are chronically dehydrated. So the brain's not working the way it should be. So that's just in general function, memory, concentration, focus, all that kind of stuff. But the mood is hugely affected, because when your brain is dehydrated, it can't function correctly. Mood is hugely connected to the way your brain is. A lot of bad moods, a lot of poor moods, low moods, all these kind of things is down to being dehydrated. Something as simple as that. Now, you might think that's crazy. What? Drinking more water is going to make me feel better? Are you real? Are you for real? Yes, I am for real. And I can guarantee you it will make you feel better. I can guarantee you it will make your brain feel like it's working better. Your focus, memory, concentration will all improve. Your energy will improve. Water has energy. Water has energy. You will get more energy from water, okay? Before we go into the ins and outs of water, what you should do and so on, quantity and all that, remember there's lots of other liquids we consume too. Coffees, teas, alcohol, energy drinks, soft drinks, poisons to the body. Now, I never tell people to never have something. You know, you make your own decision on how far you're going to go, how strict you're going to go. But what I say is, like, if you're here and this is nothing, you know, having none of those things, keep moving this direction, move towards it. If you never have, you know, coffee or Cokes or energy drinks or any of these kind of things again, fantastic. If you have a certain quantity now, and in a month or two you have less, fantastic.